London, welcome to Access All Areas.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for the host, Raffaella from the BBC and that.
It's time to drop knowledge. Your Access All Areas panel begins now. Moderated by your Access All Areas resident, Raffaella Coleman.
Love that. Absolutely love that. How are we? How are we all doing? You good? Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for attending today's Access All Areas at the Sony Music headquarters. How blessed are we? It's beautiful, right? My name is Raffaella Coleman. I am a BBC radio presenter. I've been in the music industry for over 10 years, worked in TV, film, you name it, I've done it. Done the reception jobs, made the teas. I'm sure all of these lot here are going to talk about their journeys too, but we've all started somewhere. So I'm also able to answer any questions a little bit later on about my journey. But it's not about me. It is about our amazing panellists here today. Welcome, guys. Right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to get you guys to introduce yourself individually, give us a brief, save the tea, save all the juice, because we're going to get into your journeys next. But Janice, let's start with you. Tell us about you, what you do, and just give us an intro.
Hi everyone, so I'm Janice Thompson, otherwise known as JT. So I am Director of Talent at PRS for Music. When I say talent, that means HR talent. So I expect that people will be thinking, I can help with other forms of talent, but it's really HR, so not as exciting. But I basically look after diversity and inclusion, all things recruitment and all things learning and development, so the key enablers of diversity and inclusion.
Thank you. PREYE, let's go to you.
Grab that. Hi everyone, I'm PREYE. I've worked at Sony my whole life basically, which is what I was just saying to you. It's the only job I've ever had. Started at Columbia Records for 7 years, I was there. And then I left, helped set up a new record label in Sony called Robots and Humans. And also when I was a little bit younger, I started 2 music festivals. One called the Cambridge Club, which is kind of funk, disco and soul. So it's happening next month. It's Shaka Khan, Earth, Wind and Fire, that kind of vibe. And then I started a music festival called Strawberries and Cream, which is not that. It's much more kind of rap, hip hop, Afrobeats. And yeah, lucky enough to say that we kind of sold half of both of those companies to Sony 3 or 4 years ago. So I spend all my time up and down this building.
Bush.
Hi, I'm MC BODKIN. Originally an MC, I set up a group called the Heartless Crew way back in our secondary school days. We were signed to a major record label, and then due to, let's say, the difficulties we had with the label, I decided to set up my own independent. I'm calling it the first independent black record label in the UK. And yeah, man, that's my journey.
Shall I take this one? Hello, there we go. Hi, I'm B. I'm the head of press at Columbia Records, where I did work with the lovely PREYE for a little bit before he left us. I've been at Columbia Records now for about 5 years, and before that I started my music industry journey at Warner, where I was an intern. So I've been in the major label system for about 10 years now, and then before that I worked at an independent PR company as well.
Love that.
So I'm JASMINE BODKIN. I'm Senior Director of Label Management at The Orchard, which is a fully owned Sony company. We take care of the artists and label services. I was at Sony Music UK for just under 20 years and at The Orchard for 6 years.
Absolutely love that. Give it up for our incredible panel, everyone. Janice, let's start with you. We're going to have a really organic sort of conversation. I'm someone that likes to start from the beginning, understand your journey, why you are the way you are, and where you ended up. So tell us a little bit about your journey into music specifically.
Actually, I've only been in the music industry for 2 years. So I think that when we look at, journeys into and access into the music industry, I'm probably kind of unique because I haven't come from the music industry, but I kind of see that as my secret sauce. So I've only been here for about 2 years, as I said, and I started at PRS for Music as their head of diversity and inclusion and talent. And so I became their first ever female black director in 110 years. So it was pretty significant. Thank you. But I think that that's really probably quite pertinent, because I don't think that you have to have come from the music industry. And I think that there are definitely, I think probably some skills that are probably unique that I've been able to kind of impart in my journey here. So I think that they've been really quite valuable. So never underestimate the value that you bring, regardless of where you're coming from. But I kind of grew up in the fashion industry. So I had my first job at 16, working in Topshop, and then kind of grew into retail management. I don't want to jump ahead of your questions.
No, you keep going, girl.
So I worked my way up from Topshop, and then I went into the luxury fashion industry, and then I started dressing all the celebrities, and I launched Yves Saint Laurent in the UK for Tom Ford, and then I opened the first ever Louis Vuitton in the Eastern Caribbean. So I worked completely in fashion, and then I'm pretty old, so I went back to university when I was when I was 25. I did my first degree in media and English. So I actually always wanted to work in the media space, but I ended up working, in retail, because the doors were not necessarily open. But I kept on beating down those doors until I got to where I wanted to be. So, yeah, I think my career has been a bit of a portfolio. I've worked in tech space, I've worked in advertising, I've literally worked everywhere. And I think that that's a positive, because you're able to learn from many different organisations, and you're able to kind of adapt and apply that skills and the knowledge that you build into whatever industry you go in.
Love that. Thank you so much. PREYE, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, it's not as interesting as that, I'll be honest. I guess, I was at school. I went to study politics at uni, because I always say I was the subject I was least bad at, and it made my mum happy. And so I was lucky enough to go to a uni in Cambridge. I always say Cambridge the clubs were really good for like Britney Spears and Whitney Houston, but it didn't play any of the music that I guess I was listening to where I grew up in London. So we came up with like the really, really unimpressive idea of just doing a club night in Cambridge with 200 people, and just put on music that we were listening to in London, Skepta, Tiny Temper, whatever it was at the time. And yeah, I guess it kind of, the following year, we started booking artists outdoors in a garden, called it this name, Strawberries and Cream, and we got really lucky. We booked Skepta back then for not too much money. It will cost way, way more now. But I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was probably 2015, Kanye came over for the Brits, and he brought out Skepta, and kind of everything kind of exploded. And I'll never forget, I thought because of that, he wasn't going to turn up to the festival, but he did. And we sold like 2,500 tickets.
Wow.
And that was kind of, and I'm very grateful to Skepta and his team for that, actually, always. But yeah, I think that was the first time we realized that maybe we could potentially build a business out of, events and music. So I used that information to apply to Sony. Definitely lied, said I was friends with all of these artists that I wasn't, but managed to get myself kind of a couple days work experience. And yeah, I've basically been dodging getting fired ever since, basically. Yeah, so yeah, I guess I've done some A&R stuff. I guess I'll talk about all the artists and stuff later on, but that was fundamentally how I got into the building, and then just been lucky enough to be here ever since.
Incredible. What a grafter. Give it up for PREYE. Bushkin.
Yes, well, I started like in the early 90s in secondary school. My older brother had a sound system, and I just wanted to be like him. I was always trying to follow in his footsteps. So then I reached out to two of my school friends, one being DJ Fonty and another guy, David Ogwan, and I said, yeah, let's set up a sound system. Them times it was called Youth Sounds, or Youth Sounds, basically. So we set up a youth sound system. We toyed around with a few different names, but then I came up with the name Heartless Crew, and it kind of just stood out and it stuck. And yeah, man, we went through the whole youth centre circuit, buying our own speakers. Our initial trick, in fact, because this was like early secondary school, so like first, second year of secondary school, we went Holloway Boys, and we had Camden girls down the road from us. And our trick would be to go down there and say, oh, whose birthday is it? and we'll put on a birthday party for you. This started to get popular. Then we done the whole youth centres. Then we started playing a few clubs. Then jungle music came about. It took out a load of the youth sound systems. We stuck at it. And then after jungle, garage came about. And we really wanted to be jungle DJs, but we didn't actually make it there. But again, by chance, when garage came, we were so over-prepared for garage. We kind of just blew up in the garage scene. Had a wonderful journey doing that. Then got signed to a major record label, which is where, believe it or not, the trouble started, because we was young, we had loads of money, probably more money than sense in a way. But yeah, we had a little bit of a rocky period then. And then fast forward, we actually got dropped kind of by the label. And then fast forward to now, because of all that, decided to set up my own independent record label. And one of the main reasons was, just to explain it, I just thought that when we was with the major, we wasn't given any time of day, no love. We was a bit arrogant, I admit that, but yeah, they just didn't understand us. For that reason, I thought, you know what, if I ever get the opportunity, I'm going to set up my own thing where I can try and nurture talent. And yeah, man. And yeah, we're here today.
We also forgot to mention that he's on BBC Radio 1 Extra. We forget about that. Figure it out. P, let's go to you.
So I guess my journey started when I was a teenager. So I grew up in a place called Muswell Hill, which is like a little kind of place in North London, and it was a school, there's a school called Fortismere there that basically has a lot of great bands have come out of there. So like, you know, people like the CROOKS lived down the road, and Bombay Bicycle Club. It was like very indie kind of music. But I was about 14. Me and all my friends loved going to gigs. And then we realised that all of our favourite bands were only playing venues that were 18 plus. So me and my friends basically just banded together and emailed a bunch of these artists and were like, will you come play at like our pub? And like, we don't have any money, but like, we want to buy your records, we want to see you live. And believe it or not, they said yes. So we kind of ended up putting on, there was a bar called Nambuka, which again, in like the early 2010s was very well known for being quite like an indie bar where loads of cool people played, like Kid Harpoon, who's now massive and writing for Harry Styles in LA. He lived above the pub there, and so we got him to kind of do a couple of nights for us, and it turned into like kind of an ongoing regular night that we would put on, and we just literally would just email artists and be like, we're 16, we can't get into Carling Academy because we're not 18, but we're the ones buying your records, like we're the ones that want to see you at festivals. And yeah, by luck, they agreed to it. That ended up a couple of years later turning into a festival that we put on in Finsbury Park. We had Dizzy Rascal play. We had Florence and the Machine in her early days play it. And it was literally, the whole concept was it was a safe space for under 18-year-olds. There was no alcohol served. It was just a place where you could go and watch all your favourite bands, basically. Then I turned 18 and got too old for it. So I went to university. I studied English literature. I left music behind. I was like, I'm just going to be an adult. I'm going to get an adult job. And then I was bartending in a bar a couple of years after I graduated and was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to pour shots for the rest of my life. And music had always had a place in my heart. And so I basically quit my job, moved back in with my parents in London and applied for any job in music I could find on Twitter. Had a couple of feedback from like Island Records, from Warner, and then from a PR company that I'd never heard of before. I didn't even know what music PR was at the time. I'd never heard of it. I just assumed everyone was an A&R at that time. I just assumed like, oh, you're either an artist or you're an A&R. I had no education on what other jobs there were in music. Went for the job and was like, oh, I'm a talker. I can do this job. And yeah, in about 12 hours, basically went from having quit my job, moved to London, to having an internship at this amazing company. It turns out it's the company that do Frank Ocean, Calvin Harris, Beyonce. Like, it's an incredible company that I just didn't even know existed. Then from there, I finished my internship. They helped me get the job at Warner, and then I moved over to Sony. And so that's my journey.
Absolutely love that. Jasmine, your journey.
All right, well. How long have you got?
Start from the beginning, girl. We got time.
No, I'm going to condense.
Condense, of course.
So, I come from a family of musicians and sound system uncles and cousins, so music was always around me. I don't think when I was younger I thought that I was actually going to be in music, but I loved poetry. I thought at one point that I was going to be a rapper. That didn't quite work. And that was more to do with my personality. I'm very introverted, I'm very quiet, so, you know, I knew that wasn't really going to be a career. But off the back of that experience in my sort of late teens, I made some friends who later I sort of bumped into and had sort of started their career journeys in music. That friend asked me to come and help them set up the first street team at BMG. That was a really long time ago. And street teaming back then was very different to what people think street team is now. Like, it was, you know, very much guerrilla marketing out there, putting posters up. You know, there was a van that was wrapped with all the artists' images. You know, we would be at the club nights. Well, I say we, maybe not me, but the guys were. And what we set out to do was sort of run it like a business. So we sort of came into BMG originally, and we sort of, back then, we basically came in to do, I shouldn't even say his name now, but we did Bad Boy Records. Don't say that out loud too often anymore, but it was an exciting time, actually, and we got to meet the artists, we got to sort of see some of the creative work, and what they needed, though, was somebody that could be sort of corporate-facing, that could sort of make sense to the corporates, the executive. They needed to understand what this group of young people were running around London and other sort of towns doing, and quantify the spend that we were asking for a budget, we were asking for money to do things. So I became sort of the corporate piece of the puzzle for them. So I was the one based in the office, and I was the one sort of writing the reports and ensuring I was at meetings and speaking with people. Right. I'm going to condense, because I'm just at BMG now. That's okay. So BMG then merged with Sony BMG, but in between, Jive got acquired, there was a bunch of acquisitions and mergers, and the company got bigger and bigger, the departments formed, all the labels that you now know in Sony, like Arista and Columbia. When I started, Columbia was the rock label, Arista was the pop label, and then we had the R&B sort of department, and I sort of sat in the middle of all of that. We worked across so many campaigns, from Usher, Alicia Keys, Sierra, the list goes on. I think while I was there, I realised that, music is where I want to stay, but what else is there? So I sort of set out to sort of find out what other departments existed, what went into marketing. That was the next piece of the puzzle. Did club promotions first, then marketing, then eventually when Sony demerged with BMG, after a certain period of time, they create this new role that was called label coordination, which is very similar to the role I do now, or the department that I work in now, which was to sort of manage the release strategies for all these artists. So again, I could be here forever talking about some of the parts of my journey, but basically worked promotions, marketing, release planning, then left Sony, came to the Orchard, thought I was out of Sony. Sony acquired the Orchard. I was back in the Sony building. And now I'm, as I said, working with artists and labels again, and it's fun.
Look at life. Absolutely love that. Whilst you guys were speaking, stories from my own past was piping up from when I walked into a label and said, I want to work in music. And they go away and figure out what department you want to work in music. And so it just shows. Let's talk about your individual job roles. JANEACE, let's start with you. I didn't know about PRS until I got into radio. I didn't know the importance of it. And I'm at a point now where artists come to me and a lot of their tracks aren't PRS registered. Tell us about PRS for music and the importance of it, and also what it is that your actual role consists of there.
Okay, you might need to remind me of some of that, but thank you.
That was 3 questions. Tell us about the PRS for music, for those that may not know about it, and the importance of it.
Yeah, so we're the Performing Rights Society. So we represent the rights and the works of artists, whether they're emerging artists to global superstars. So we ensure that wherever the music is streamed or played, that the music, the money, the royalties are distributed to those individuals. So that's, in essence, what we do, and that's why we exist.
Can we also reiterate to any artists that are here that want their music on radio or want their music played that it must be PRS registered?
Absolutely. So you know where to find us.
Okay. PREYE, let's talk about you. Obviously, you've started 2 incredible festivals. Yeah. We'll get into that. But tell us about the role of an A&R, and when did you realise you had an eye for it?
I still haven't got an eye for it. The role of an A&R, I always think like it's a really easy thing to describe. I think it's just, can you find the next Adele and the next Ed Sheeran before anybody else? That's.
But isn't there a pressure on you, though? Isn't there a pressure to top who that last artist is that you may have signed?
I don't think so. I remember when I started, I thought it was the coolest job in the whole world. I just remember they just said, like, go out to every single gig, every single show up and down the country and learn, listen to music and try and find people who you think are amazing. And I thought, you're going to pay me to do what I do anyway on the weekend. And I was on every single night bus, National Express. I didn't care. If there was a 4-person show in Cardiff, I'd be there. And it was great. You know, I spent a year just learning. I guess we're all still learning, but at that time really just developing your ears, I guess, and figuring out why people engage with some artists, why people don't engage with other artists, why some people go viral, why some people don't. I loved it. And you know, my job at the time was just to come back into this building and say, you know, I think X is amazing, or I think Y is incredible. And yeah, I guess as you kind of develop, the job changes slightly. I guess you're allowed to start signing artists. Then once you sign an artist, your job is, you know, can you provide value and support to help that artist realize their dreams? And that's like a slightly different kind of job. But yeah, I guess I spend all my days either looking for amazing new artists or working with the amazing artists that I work with currently. Also, robots and humans. Yeah. Talk to us about that. Yeah. Interesting. So, very interesting. Yeah. I've just learned about it all. So yeah, I was at Columbia with B, which I loved. I haven't got a bad word to say about the label. I'm listening. Yeah, yeah. But I guess it was, and I'm going to be very transparent here. We were going through COVID, which I think was an interesting time for everybody. And I met an amazing guy called Rob, who is the boss of Robots. And he said this stat to me, which I thought was really interesting. He was like, if Selena Gomez puts a song out on Spotify, on the first day, it will do 10 million streams. And he asked me, do I know where those streams will come from? And I was like, no. And he was like, he basically had worked out through his algorithms that probably 1 million of those 10 million streams came from the radio and came from being on the top of all of those playlists that you guys check out every day, right? And he was like, do you know where the other 9 million streams are? And I was like, no, where? He was like, the internet. And he was like, if a label could work out a methodology for navigating through the internet space, it was such a massive and untapped beast that no one really understood at that time. It was just when TikTok was coming through and Instagram was starting to have more power. He was like, do you realize how many streams that we could churn out here? And I remember, like, I literally went back to Columbia 3 days later. I was like, I really want to give this a go. To be honest, more than anything, to learn. I thought it was such like a fascinating weapon for young artists to use to get to the goals and the places that they wanted to get to. So we kind of built this label that was, I guess, fundamentally built around the internet. A lot of it was quite data heavy. Never data that affected the music, but data that affected, I guess, the route to goal and how we could get artists with this incredible music to reach millions of people. And yeah, I'm delighted to say I've been there 3 years and it's grown pretty quickly. Incredible. BODKIN, 22 plus years in the music industry. How many? Have I got that right? Correct me. 30? A few more than that. Even though I don't look it. Well, you definitely don't look it. We'll say 22 to keep you looking young. You, as you said, you started your own record label, Bush Bash Records. Yeah, recordings. Yes. You are on BBC Radio 1 Extra with your Heartless crew. Yep. You're still doing music. Still doing gigs every weekend. Still partying. Still throwing parties. Still loving life. Yeah, still partying. Yeah. How are you balancing it all? And what is it like now, sort of being behind the scenes, given everything that you have learned? Like you mentioned earlier, signing to a label and now running your own label. That part I'm still navigating, still learning. I've never ran a label before, but like
like my whole MO, I just do things of vibes and what feels right and what feels natural. And yeah, that's just the way I do things. Very unorthodox, but it works because it's just real. Yeah, it's just, as people say, keep it real. I just keep it real to myself. So that's one thing. How I balance everything, I absolutely love it. I totally enjoy it. And I think that's one of the biggest tricks. Just do stuff that you enjoy. I always say, if I'm not having fun, I just leave it alone. And I always tell people I'm working with, like, you know, if you're not enjoying it, no one's got a knife to your back. Just leave it alone. And especially with the music industry now, it's so oversaturated, it's so overcrowded. And that's why I'm always homing on people. You know, if you're not enjoying it, leave it alone. Make room for other people who really want to get involved and really want to enjoy it. So yeah, that's my thing really. Just have fun, man. There's 24 hours. Everyone's got the same 24 hours. But every day I want to get up and just do more. I don't want to sleep. I just want to be up on it, basically. So yeah, man, that's how I do it.
I love that, and you really admit that. And they say if you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So that's beautiful. B, being a publicist involves managing the public image of various artists. I know you spoke about sort of your entry into it, but what was it that attracted it to you mostly, media relations?
I think the thing about PR, especially in music, is I loved music, but if I'm completely honest, like, I'm not a marketing person. I don't like sitting behind a desk looking at data. I don't have the energy to be an A&R. I can't keep up and stay up late at night the same way that you can. But I always knew I wanted to do something that was in that, like, that worked with musicians, because I think musicians are fascinating. Like, I think there's something so amazing about a person that just creates art and it just flows out of them. So I'm about the person that creates the art, and I found that so interesting. So I think when I found out that kind of being a publicist in the music industry was a job, I was like, well, this is perfect, because my job is basically to tell the world how amazing I think this artist is. And if there's something that they're passionate about, how do I help them tell their story? Is it through fashion? Like, do they like wearing kind of crazy outfits? Then let me help you do that in front of the world. Are you someone who's, you know, like a climate activist? How can I help you tell the world that they can save the planet? Like, I find the artist themselves fascinating, and so that's what I wanted to be my part in their journey, is helping them tell the world who they are, basically.
Brilliant. Jasmine, what would you say keeps you passionate about label management and what it is that you do, given that you've been in the industry for so long?
And I've got to be honest, when I got to this sort of end of my Sony period, I fell out of love with music. I literally I wasn't listening to music. And so when I came to the Orchard, it was almost like a refresh for me, a reset, a new challenge, because working at a major label is very different to the independent distribution. And so what I found is I was relearning things. I was unlearning the things that I'd learned at, you know, being at Sony, and getting closer to the artist in terms of their vision. And I think that's what excites me. It's like understanding the vision of an artist, doing the campaigns the way they want to do it, is very different to the sort of looking at, and I won't say it. No, I'll leave it at
Exactly. You're talking to me.
No, it's great. You know, there's different formulas for different artists.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, but I definitely enjoy this version of events, basically, and, you know, sort of being a part of the puzzle, understanding the bit that I play. And a lot of the part that I play isn't very visible to people. They don't know that I'm behind certain things, or I've got my hand in certain projects. But that's okay, because I'm not there. Again, back to my personality, I'm not there to sort of be in the spotlight. I'm there to sort of help them reach their vision.
Love that. Let's talk about the struggles, the adversities you may have faced. I know you tried to avoid it just there, but I remember being 25, without giving my age away because I'm 21, and I tell everyone that every year, being told by someone very high in music, actually, that I would never make it in radio. I was too old for radio. And it's something that always stuck with me. And but it also became my driving force. Priya, let's start with you. This may relate to you earlier on in your career, being an A&R, being someone that probably got a lot of no's, dealing with a lot of egos. We deal with a lot of egos in this industry, don't we? Let's not beat around the bush. When it comes to artists, has there ever been a time you felt that your voice wasn't heard as such?
Yeah, sometimes, but I'm a big believer. I'm really obsessed with this job of mine that I have, and like the fundamental job. And I think you've been saying it for a while now. Is like we're not the stars of the show. We're here to purely service and amplify the artists that we work with. They're the captains of their ship, and they've got to drive the ship the way that they see fit. So yeah, sometimes it can be frustrating, but you know, you've really got to trust the artists that you work with, believe in their messaging and how they want to do things. And all you can do really is add your opinion, your advice. People might not always listen, but I think that's part of the journey. And you know, most of the times I've been wrong anyway, so they were right not to listen.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's hard when you navigate, especially when you're at entry level also. And I always say that it's very interesting to know your place sometimes and know your role. Jasmine, I came across a study from a few years ago that said only 1/3 of women in the music industry are in senior management and executive roles. 65% of them are at entry level. Why do you think that is?
Again, how long have you got?
Let's go. We got time.
It's difficult. There are some industries that are male-dominated, especially the time that I began in the industry. It was definitely that, and a lot of the roles were entry-level or assistants, or I think back then, especially, that people felt like there wasn't room enough for everyone. So everyone's fighting to sort of be an executive, and if your voice wasn't loud enough, you'd get left behind, basically. I think with women, we were put in situations where we did our jobs. We work hard. We thought that naturally we'd get acknowledged for the work we're doing and we'll progress because that's how life is supposed to work. But that's not what really happens. People that work hard don't necessarily get promoted into the jobs, the senior jobs that we want to see. And I think what I've learned along my journey is that I had to almost put on a different persona in certain rooms. I had to try to stay authentic and stay true to myself, but assert myself in situations where they may have made an assumption, but I have to correct that assumption, and so that they understand that I can do that job and I can do it at a senior level. I just think people are afraid, and that's why you don't see, especially women at certain levels.
I was just about to say, being a woman in this industry, I've learned, especially working for a corporation like the BBC, I've had to find my voice. It took me 10 years. And then when you do, so much changes. But all of this leads to character building also. So I absolutely love that. BODKIN, I had to ask you this. And it's not really necessarily about a struggle, but when I hear of Heartless Crew, we hear of the theme tune, and I'm playing it in my head. Every time I hear Heartless, I'm not going to sing it. I'm not going to do it to you guys.
Sing it.
No. Seriously, you caught me on the wrong day. Do you feel a pressure as an artist to top that hit? Because that has been your biggest hit of all time. I still play it at my club nights. I know we still play it on the radio. Is there this pressure for you to just top that hit? Are you always... Oh, yeah. Answer that before I go off.
No, there's no pressure, really and truly. That was a time, it was a moment, and it was fun. It was natural, it was fun, and it's a good tune. And to be in my mind, we've made better tunes since, but that was just a particular time, and that one kind of lifted off. But yeah, with music, with anything in life, it's just, if there's a pressure, if you put a pressure on yourself. I've never been that type of guy to put pressure on myself, because I don't see the reason why. It's just going to give you like stress, and stress is the biggest killer, or grey hairs and stuff like that. So yeah, again, my thing, it just comes back to having fun. You know, so music is creative, it's subjective, it's perception. You know, so that might be someone's best tune, and another tune we made is another person's best tune. So yeah, man, just have fun. For the creatives out there, have fun and create. Don't put pressure on yourselves, man, because why? Why would you want to do that? Like, who wants to put pressure on themselves? And you know why I'm there as well? Big up Frisky. I don't know where Frisky is in the room, but
big up Frisky.
Big up DJ Frisky, because Frisky played 2 tunes. He had me gassed earlier, you understand? Those tunes are better than that one there to me in a way, but yeah, man, it's all perception, man.
Also, you spoke a little bit earlier on about how the music industry has changed from when you were signed back in the day to now, fast forward to now where you're running your own label. Have there been any struggles you faced that may have been a bit easier back then or harder than it is now?
You know, I know it's hard to say what's easier and harder, because again, it's perception, and I'm a person I just enjoy and go through and just have fun. But one thing I am finding more difficult now is back in the days when we was like popular, there wasn't any social media. So it was like knock on the door. It was mobile phones them time there, and at that time you was happy if your phone rang. Like, you wanted your phone to ring. Nowadays no one wants to answer their phone. It's like
That's
complete
true.
opposite. But then the thing what I find, I don't want to say difficult, but I know a lot of my peers find it difficult. It's social media. It takes up so much of your time, and it's nowadays social media is everything. So being popular now, you've got like Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. It takes so much of your time up if you want to do it and do it well, and then that takes away time from really being a creative and living your actual real life.
We're going to get onto social media, actually. So I love that you touched on that. B, can you share a specific instance where you had to turn around? I know you probably may not be able to say the artist. I love to get the tea. Where you had to turn around a negative situation for an artist, and what strategies you sort of used to successfully manage, say, the crisis as such.
It's hard because I think I morally refuse to be a crisis PR. I work at Columbia Records. I'm not paid by this person to cover up their sex child or their driving or their fines. That is not my job, right? I am not, I don't get paid enough for a start, but yeah, morally that is not what I am here to do. I am paid by Columbia Records to promote their music, and that's why I love this job. I think I wouldn't be sat here today doing this job if I did that sort of PR. It's just not, no offense to the people that like to do that sort of PR, it's not for me. So luckily I've never really had moments in my career where like those sort of things have happened. I have had moments in my career where those things have come up, and I've had to make the choice on how I handle them, in terms of, do I do the PR, do I do the cover job, or do I choose to step away? And there was a time where I was working, it took me 4 years to build up a relationship with this record label. I won't say which one it is, but it's an international one, and they were looking for a UK rep, and the job was essentially to do all of the PR for all of the artists that were on this roster, and it was a really hot ticket. And after 4 years of back and forth and flights and late night calls, I managed to become like the UK rep for that whole label. Was all going great, and then they signed an artist that, as a woman, had done things in the past that I do not agree with, do not stand by, and this was publicly known. So I basically said to the label, I don't feel comfortable. I can't be this person's PR, even though I know that I am the PR for the whole label. And I had some pushback from some people, and I had some people that cheered me on. And in the end, it worked out for the best, because they were like, we still want to keep you on. The fact that you can say that to us with your chest means that you're the right person for us. So we're not going to put you in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, but we know that we made the right choice to have you on our team. And it was definitely a moment where I was like, this could be the end of my career. Now, that there are people in the room that are louder than me, that are more important than me, but if no one says anything, what's the point? And it was one of those things where I was like, oh God, please don't fire me, but I have to say something. And yeah, luckily it turned out for the best, but those moments do happen where you've really got to back yourself and say it with your chest, you know?
Yeah. Again, like Jasmine said, it's finding your voice, and you learn that the longer you are in this music industry. JANEACE, Do you have a specific example of a time where, this is a positive one, but we can talk about struggles also, where your efforts in promoting inclusion within your workplace led to a positive change?
Yeah, lots. I think because of the fact that my role spans both learning and development, that supports progression internally. So one of the things that I really believe in is it's all very well bringing diverse people into the organisation, but it's about the experience that they have when they get there that counts. So for me, it was about ensuring that there was development and a progression path for individuals that join the organisation. And I think that there's been many things that I can talk about, but I think when you think about who's in senior leadership, for example, picking up from what Jasmine was saying, I think that I had installed the idea that my recruitment team aren't allowed to advertise for particular qualifications. They remove them because actually somebody could have been doing the job before for 10 years or 5, but they might not ever have a qualification, but that doesn't mean that they can't do the job. So I think when we look at diversity and inclusion, we've got to look at socioeconomic mobility and all of those kind of things that stop people from being able to access degrees and things like that. So we've removed the need for qualification unless it's for a legal role or something like that. Of course, you need to make sure that your lawyers have got, the right qualifications. But unless it's really, really necessary, that's one of the things that have been really positive, as well as the team, when they go out into the market looking for a director, for example, one of the things that we installed was don't go looking for the title, because actually a lot of people that look like me might not have ever been given an opportunity to get into a director's position, but they might have the knowledge, skills and competency to be able to perform really well in the job. So actually, if you remove all of that, you widen the network, you widen the pool, and it means that more people can have an opportunity to step into those kind of senior roles. So that's been really impactful.
Woo! Give it up. Yes. I wanted to ask you, Janice, seeing as we were talking about finding our voice, how do you feel that, especially as a woman, how can we amplify our voices better?
I think we need to kind of, I'm going to steal this from John Amici, I don't know if any of you know him, but he's an organisational psychologist, and he recently delivered a keynote for us at PRS, and he talks about this voice on the back of your shoulder. Just tell that noisy person to shut up and don't listen to that. So I think that it's really important, because a lot of the time that whole idea of imposter syndrome, people talk about that for women, but you can have ADHD like I do. You can have all different things that might be going on internally and you kind of believe them. So I think when it comes to finding your voice, you need to kind of stand in your convictions, recognise that you've got value and be very sure about that, because a lot of the time people compare themselves to other people and then talk themselves out of something, but actually you're just as good as the next person. So I think you've got to remember that.
Indeed, it really is also about just taking that leap of faith and going for 100%. What it is that you want. Let's talk about highlights of your careers. We've spoken about struggles. Bushkin, let's start with you. Tell us about a personal highlight for you in your career.
We've had so many highlights, but
don't show off.
What springs to mind when I was probably about 20, going on 21, like I said, we'd been signed to the major record label, and they kind of gassed us up and they said, like, look, you guys are amazing and like you're kind of popular in your own area. Now we're going to take you to Middle England and right across the country, and we're going to take you international. And at the same time, they was telling us that stuff. My girlfriend at the time, we was pregnant, we was having a baby, and we was like madly in love. We're still in love now, but not in that way. But I had a convertible. I just bought a convertible car.
I love how honest he is. Sorry.
No, it was like,
you've got to love the honesty of this panel, guys. These are my people.
It was great time. I literally just bought a little convertible M3 BM. Like, it was like a James Bond. I'm a big James Bond fan, and it was like a James Bond car, and I had a red roof. I love red. And at that time, you get convertibles now with different color roofs, but like I was one of the, I'll say I was one of the first in them ends to have that. Like, had the red roof, we had the roof down, and we're driving down Holloway. I'm from North London, and we're driving down Holloway Road, and there was like billboards like of us and our single, and I remember this like putting the horn down, and we were screaming together, and it was just like a scene of a movie. It was like yeah, it was just amazing. Like, I was horning and the billboard was there and we were just getting mad. Like, and we in a way, we had made it because we had unlocked another level, but it was like, we just thought, wow, it's like we're gone. It's, you know what I'm saying? It was just,
living a dream.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was a literal dream.
I love that. Jasmine, let's go with you. Highlight.
I did not do that. but I'm also
I'm sure you've been around it.
I think it changes depending on the day you ask me, because there's obviously highlights in terms of, you know, successes of the artist campaigns I've worked on. But I think for me, a highlight is what I'm doing currently in terms of, I think I found purpose in the extracurricular work I'm doing. So I'm doing a lot of work with sort of social impact and the Social Justice Fund. And I think that's being able to give back, like truly give back, is the big highlight. So be in the position to be able to do that and sort of also sort of be a mentor to young executives coming through now. Those are the things that are actually making me happy right now.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And B, highlight. I've got so many questions to squeeze in, and I've just been told I've got 15 minutes. So
it's hard. I think, like you say, they change day to day, sort of thing. As your life changes, so do your priorities and all of those sort of things. I think the moment that I'll always remember that was like a career highlight was I've been working with Bugsy Malone for a while, and we were the underdogs. He was signed to like ADA. I was an intern. It was my first project that the adults let me do by myself. And so me and him were like the proper underdogs, like to the point where, like, speaking about being a woman, my name is B. Thomas, and I used to show up to meetings with Bugsy where like they wouldn't let him in, and they'd be waiting for Tom because they thought that was who they were waiting on. It's like, no, it's me, B. So we struggled for that campaign. And I remember the day it got number 5 for King of the North for his album in the charts. And we literally both were just like, how have we managed to do that sort of a thing? And it was just pure, I was an intern. He had no reason to trust me, but he did. And I really think I'll always say I have to thank him for being where I am now, because he gave me that chance. And so it was a really nice moment to be like, oh, thank God it worked, because otherwise I probably wouldn't be here now. But I remember that being like a really nice moment.
Beautiful. PREYE, personal highlight for you?
Probably the Sony deal with the festivals, I think because when we started, we were literally just a bunch of young people who wanted to party and drink. And in the space of 4 years or 5 years, for that to go from a 200-person party to like whether it was 15,000-person party, and everybody come and work here. Obviously, I'd been working here since I was 21. For all the boys to join me, and they all sit on the 6th floor right now, was a really amazing moment. And yeah, I'm very, very thankful that Sony let us come and cause trouble here, basically.
Brilliant. Ginny?
I think mine's just really surviving corporate life as a single mum. You know, coming from a council estate where I grew up, and kind of getting here and learning how to speak properly, and so that my Southeast London accent didn't kind of give me away as much as I tried. And sometimes I'd bite my tongue off trying to speak really nicely. And when I moved to Muswell Hill and I had to kind of fit in with those yummy mummies, I remember that was like, wow.
I'm actually from East Finchley.
Oh, okay. But yeah,
it's not as nice.
But I think, you know, navigating the music industry and kind of coming in and being able to make an impact and meaningful change in the lives of individuals. I think when you get into a leadership role, it's about who you can bring with you on the journey. I think that's an accomplishment.
I love that. Now, I'm really limited on time and I've got so much I want to get out. So I'm only going to ask PREYE and Jasmine on social media, if that's okay. PREYE, you spoke earlier on about the label you work for and the use of software, algorithms, etc. During the A&R process. Are there any artists that you found through social media that promoted you to sign them? And what did they do different?
That promoted me to sign them. Yeah. So I found them through social media. Yeah, loads. What was the question? What did I?
So doing all the work that you do for the label, any artists that sort of stood out to you on social media that you signed through that? Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, loads of people have. I'm not going to lie, like, and I'm sure B sees at Columbia, like a lot of the A&R process, a lot of it now is done through data and the internet. I can't say I love it. I think it's just an evolution of where this world has gone at the moment. In terms of what the artists have done in order to be spotted, a lot of it's numbers driven, I'll be honest. You know, the For You page on Instagram or TikTok or Twitch, or wherever you are, you know, things that are going viral on that naturally find their way back into these buildings. For me, I think what it always comes down to is an ability to create a community, wherever that may be. That could be in real life, in live shows. That could be on the internet with follower numbers. That could be on Discord, whatever that might be. And I think that's what I'm looking for when it comes to social media these days. It's not necessarily just about how viral something goes or how big it goes. I think it's about how many people within that virality are actually engaged consumers, how many people are actually going to part with their money to buy your merchandise when the time comes or go and see your show. I think, me included, for a number of years, have got very lost about what massive numbers necessarily mean. My favourite artists in the world right now actually aren't Sony, are Loyal Kana and Olivia Dean, because both of them have got 300,000 Instagram followers but can sell out 202s. Like, you know, where you've got other artists who've got 20 million Instagram followers and can sell out 300 ticket shows. So, yeah, I think for me, the key point is for artists on social media to be able to, I guess, showcase an engaged community, and that gets me very, very excited.
Brilliant. Jasmine, what advice would you give to artists on using social media to enhance their social presence, but also to engage with their fans and connect with labels?
This is, it's difficult to cut through. I think I was having a conversation a bit earlier about this, because what we're finding is a lot of artists are trying to have a viral moment, but that's not artist development. You might get that moment, but how do you keep your fans loyal to you? So what I would say is keep building, chipping away, building your community, building your fan base, to keep them loyal, so that when you're releasing music, that they stay with you on that journey.
Thank you. Okay, advice, gems, and words of wisdom. Right, B, what would you say is, well, actually, I thought about this earlier. Something that I've learned, here I go off on a tangent now, is, especially being in this industry, the importance of a good attitude, especially when starting out, working with egos, not being afraid to start at the bottom, you know, and just working your way up. What advice, knowing what you all know now, what advice and top tips do you have for anyone sitting in here right now that wants to get in the music industry? B, let's start with you.
There's so much to say. You know what? I've been at Sony now for like 5 years, and we have an internship program. So like every year we get a bunch of interns that come through, and we get about 5 at Columbia. And the ones that I always remember, the ones that are curious and ask the stupid questions, because there aren't any. But like, I'd rather hear you ask than sit in the corner silent. I won't remember who you are. Like, one of our interns recently came up to me and was like, can we grab a coffee? And she's fascinating. She's like a great girl, and she doesn't know what she wants to do, but she knows she loves music. And off the back of that, I've set her up with lunch with brands teams and with international, because if she doesn't know what she wants, do it all. Do it all, have a look at everything. And so, yeah, like, ask the stupid questions, just be interested and curious. And, you know, like you say, there's 24 hours in a day, and like, life's short. Like, just, if you're hungry, be hungry and ask. Like, there's, you know, not going to be another time where you're in a room with these people, or if this opportunity comes, take it with both hands.
And that's a message for anyone that's in here today. You know, we have these incredible panelists here that have an array of experience and knowledge, so try and grab them whilst you can. Jasmine, any words of advice or top tips that you'd give anyone that wants to enter the music industry?
You have to be a student your entire journey. I'm still learning things. I'm still curious. I do a lot of sort of self-development things, put myself in places where I can learn off of other people, because it doesn't matter. You're in a room with people, no matter what level or place they are in their career, you can learn from them. So ask the questions, take those opportunities, do things that you may not have usually have wanted to do, but just so you can expose yourself to something different.
There's lots of different things, but I think you've got to be really aware that the idea that you can't be what you can't see, I don't really believe in that, because actually if you haven't seen it, doesn't mean that you can't be it. So it's about removing limiting beliefs. I think that's a really important one. And I think that that's testament to my own journey and lots of other individuals that I've kind of seen. So I think that that's a really important one. And don't think that everybody has got it together, because I think sometimes you can think that somebody's got this special thing and they're super amazing. They're just people, and you just need to recognise that you're made of the same stuff.
Love that. Bushkin, what advice would you give to any young artists who are just starting out in the music game?
Just, you got to really know yourself. The music game is fun and as brilliant as it is, it's also got a really dark and tricky side to it. So if you're not a resilient person, you don't really understand yourself and know yourself like really well, it's probably best you leave it alone. And actually, that's probably the best advice I got. My grandma, we had such an amazing relationship. And when I was young, she begged me, oh, please don't do music. Do anything else but music. And I laughed and I thought, Gran, you don't know what you're talking about. But going through it so many years, I understood why she didn't want me to get into it. So, yeah, the best advice I could say is really know yourself and know why you're doing it and what you're actually trying to do. Yeah, that'd be the best advice.
Thank you. PREYE, I want to ask your advice, but I also want to ask you, I know you mentioned earlier on, you know, it can be numbers driven, but what do you look for when it comes to signing a new artist?
First thing, I know it's really obvious, but someone said it to me the other day, and it really interested me, music. Like, I think that like now we live in a world where like there's so many ways to like pull the wool over people's eyes, and you know, you can talk about numbers or you can talk about brand deals and all these type of things, but like fundamentally, and this is what the person said to me, like the thing that all the biggest artists have in the world, and I mean the really, really big ones, is brilliant music, right from the, you know, the beginning when this all started. So I think that is definitely the first thing I look for. I think the second thing is ambition. Really, I think as you said, like this is not the world's funnest industry. I'll be really honest to you. Like there's so much about it that's great. There's so much about it that I, you know, as I'm sure you'd all say, I really don't like, and I really don't think it's acceptable. So I think to be able to want to navigate through that and to get to the top of that, I think you've got to really, really want to be hungry. And we can all sit here and, you know, B can be the best PR person in the world, and we can help you with your sessions and your mixing and your mastering. But as an artist, if you don't have that ambition to want to get to that level, we're not going to be able to help that, really. So when I see that kind of hunger plus great music, I get very, very excited.
There you go. And
He said before, actually, we've had a conversation where he said, like, I can't want it more than you. I can never want him, or PREYE can't want him more than you. Like, I can't. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, you need to want it more than all of us sat up here, and we can help you get there, but we can't collectively be convincing you to do this. Like, that's
very, very true. And I must add to that and say, you know, my journey, I've had countless jobs. If I even listed them, you wouldn't even believe, but they all led me to where I am, and, you know, still to where I want to be. And, you know, you really do have to start for me, I really started from the bottom, and I learnt my craft inside out. I went behind the scenes. I started on the reception at the BBC. I hustled. Networking is so important. Your network really is your net worth. And I think that's what takes you to another level. You can be on any kind of radio station, but it's about the noise and the sort of guests or the artists that you're connecting with and you're bringing. Your clientele, your network is very, very important. So, you know, here today, I'm the sort of person sometimes where I've come to these sort of events and I've been in the audience and I've sat here and I've gone, oh, I don't want to talk to them, but I really want to talk to them and I really want to connect with them. And these days, Instagram and social media is so much easier. But you're in this space today, and if there is anyone that you want to talk to and anyone that you want to connect with or just ask advice to, put the ego aside, just do it. Because you know what? Like everyone has said here today, it's about finding your voice. And it's a message to me even, and I'm on the radio, you know, everyone, we know every day when we go into these corporate jobs or in our worlds, we still have to find our voice and we still have to make those choices. And I feel like I'm going to be told that I've got to stop soon. So let's get everyone's social medias. if you're okay giving that out. Could be a LinkedIn, could be anything, but where can people follow you, engage with you? Not sure if they can slide in those DMs, Janice. Let's start with you.
Instagram, it's me, J_T. It's a very new account, so don't judge me. And then Janice Thompson or JT on LinkedIn.
It's just PREYE CROOKS, so same as my name.
Bushkin.
Yeah, mine is just MC Bushkin.
Are the DMs open?
Yes, but you know
Good
what?
advice.
I'm much more of a personal person. I'm an old school, so I much prefer talking to people, and I'm about real life. And that's one thing I just want to add quickly. You know, the label I'm trying to build, I'm going back to old school. It is about talent, and it's about vibes, and it's about music and fun, and not really interested in numbers. You understand? That's where man's trying to be different and almost revolutionise the thing, because it's a bit shaky.
I could talk to him all day.
Yeah, LinkedIn, you can get me and B Thomas. I think I'm tagged in all of the AAA social media stuff. I was going to say, I actually do have to run straight after this.
Go, girl.
But, like, hit me up on LinkedIn, all of that kind of stuff. Like, even though I can't stay and chat to you guys here, I'm always around for, like, a cup of tea or a chat or anything online. So
Thank you so much, B.
And LinkedIn for me. That's my name.
Jasmine Bodkin. Thank you. Everyone give it up for our incredible panellists. I had quite a few questions that we didn't get round to, like the social media, TikTok, AI era, but we will save that for another time. We're going to hand it out to the audience now, I believe. So if any of you guys have any questions for our incredible... Yes, this is what I'm talking about, energy. Can we get a microphone to this guy over here? Oh, do you want to come over here? Thanks.
Raffaella Coleman. Access all areas.
I'm loving this.
Hello.
Hiya.
So I'm actually recording this. I need to just get my notes page open. It's a question for PREYE. It's not working. So basically, it's an assumption. I'm assuming you've had like experience breaking new artists. I just want to know if there's like a common trend that you've noticed in terms of what works for breaking a new artist. Like in terms of maybe it's like a combination of socials and performing or whatever. Like, is there one?
Really good music, I think. And I think an ability to gain traction. I'm really obsessed with the word traction. I don't think it's about like huge size. I think it's just the ability to build and to grow. And so turning 10 tickets into 50 tickets and 20 streams into 200 streams. To get that machine turning and going from first gear to second gear to third gear is like a really exciting thing. Stormzy's like a very obvious example, right? If you just watched him in live time, it just got faster and faster and faster. Yeah, artists who have an ability to get onto the treadmill like that and keep going is what I think they all have in common.
Sweet, thank you. Cheers.
Anybody else have any questions? Yeah, you're right.
This is just a question for, I guess, like anyone on the panel who has an answer to this, but what's something which you think will become more important in the future for both artists and also people who want to work in the music industry in general to have or do in order to succeed, which isn't currently being talked about at the forefront or which may be overlooked at the moment?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I've got one. I think authenticity is coming back. I think we've had a time of TikTok and one-hit wonders and people going viral that don't really have anything to say. And I think that humanity is missing music being at the forefront and like authentic artists that have more to say than that they made a song in their bedroom one time. Like I think we want real. Again, after COVID and stuff, I think we're back to wanting human, tangible things again. So I think authenticity is coming back.
Okay. Anyone else? Yeah.
Hi. So I've been going to these kind of events for 12 years, and it's usually how to get into the music industry. And I always hear you need to be hungry. I wanted to ask, like, how hungry is too hungry to the point where it's, you know, like psycho? like
you should be out here.
Should I come into the offices? I've sent emails.
What do you want to do? What would you like to do?
I want to get into publishing. I did an internship. I did it it was only for 3 months. It was an independent publisher. Learned a lot there, and they said there's a possibility there might be a job. There wasn't a job at the end of it, and I've just gone from a bit like what your journey was, like going to jobs that you hate, simply for the case of paying your bills, paying rent. But my love has always been music, and it doesn't really seem like there's any opportunities out there. Like when I apply for jobs, there's usually very senior roles. There's not really many entry-level stuff.
Tried smaller labels?
No, I should probably.
Indie labels would be a good place to start.
Right,
but I'll let these girls answer
because
or the guy, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it sounds like you're on the right track, you know. Like no rush. You can never be too hungry. But I'm a feelings person, so just go with the feeling and the vibe of what feels right. I'm also a strong believer of this. It's my tactic. But I don't try too hard to do anything. You understand? Let things flow naturally. You understand? Like things take its time, but you're on the right journey. You're banging down the doors. The right ones will open at the given time. If the right ones haven't opened yet, you understand? Just believe that they're not the right ones for you. And yeah, man, just continue on your journey. And the main thing, people forget this basic thing. Just have fun. Be happy. Cause
that's what I'm saying. It's taking the fun out of it now. Like I'm starting to like.
That's why I said don't try too hard. You understand? Don't try too hard. Because when you try too hard, it takes the fun out. And in life, we're not supposed to be really trying anything. It's just a fun thing. It's a free thing. We're here to live and enjoy. Yeah? So if you do that, everything's going to come to you. The universe will make everything magnet to you. You understand? You don't have to try too hard.
What I will say while you're here, and it's something that I learned being at the BBC, you've got Radio 1, you've got 1Extra, you've got all of these big things. We don't just go work with major labels. We work with indies. And you'd be surprised to know, I think one of them that comes to mind is Your Army. There's various where you can actually really get your feet in. And when you start at those sort of places... Sorry. No, it's okay. When you start at those sort of places, you kind of learn, you can learn everything within that. And then that's when you progress, and that's when you get to the majors. And then the next thing, you could be running the label. You don't know, but...
And one more thing, sorry to cut you. If the thing ain't out there, you make it up yourself. Yeah. You understand? So that you can... Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, man, just like that.
I just want to say something. If anyone in this room is thinking of getting a degree in the music business, don't bother. Honestly, save yourself stress and money. Like, please, you don't. Like, I've learned the hard way. You do not need a degree to get
Listen, let me tell you something right now. Your job is coming. I promise you.
I was just going to say, actually, also just make sure that you're like we said earlier. Make sure that you're networking. But if you are doing applications, you have to remember that applications go into algorithms in systems and you can get lost. So follow up with the job posters as well. So try to build that connection and then join groups on LinkedIn and stuff like that.
I'm glad you said that because that's like come full circle for me because I was constantly applying for PRS jobs. And that's why I went.
Lord. Yeah. There you go, girl.
Yeah, so basically...
Set yourself up.
I did my first and second year 10 years ago in Manchester.
Has that been recent, though? Your
so this year I'm finishing my third year, and I did that because I wasn't getting jobs in the industry, and I found that you need the experience to get the experience, which is why I got the degree.
But you don't need the experience; you need the knowledge and you need the skills. So
this is the thing. Yeah. And then earlier when I heard you say you don't need a degree, I was like, well. Yeah. I've got all these skills now, you know.
Get the indies, I'm telling you, get straight in. See like platforms like the BBC. See who they use and get in with them, and you will learn everything, and you will learn it at a faster pace. And then when you go to the labels, you're in straight away. I promise you. No worries.
Yeah. And don't give up on PRS. I'll be looking out for your application.
Hi.
Hiya. I got a question for most of the panel. With the rise in like content subscription apps now, like similar to Patreon and OnlyFans, what are your thoughts on musicians using that as a route to generate additional income and to build their communities aside from the traditional methods?
It's personal. Again, how do you feel about it? If you like it and it's fun and you enjoy it, do it. If not, leave it alone. Life is so simple like that. So, yeah, that would be the quick and easy answer.
Jasmine.
There's so many routes to, you know, I think people think there's this one formula and that's what you should do. I don't believe that. I think there's various ways to make yourself seen, and you need to look at all the ways that work and that feel good to you. If it doesn't work, you know, if it's not working with you, don't do it. But we can't give you like, this is what works.
Let me refine the question then for B and for PREYE. How do you think these content subscription apps are going to affect the music industry and traditional label management as you guys know it?
In terms of actually releasing music through those apps?
In terms of, answer how you will.
I don't think it will. I think my analysis in the 9 years that I've been here is it's changing every 6 months. Honestly, every single 6 months, there's a different way to find new artists. I think it's just something that is the way that the world turns. A lot of the music that comes through is young people. They find new ways of breaking themselves. So that doesn't frighten me or stress me out. It's something that we as people on the label side have to react to and respond to. But kind of to further the point, bro, there's 100 ways to score a goal. And the other thing is there's 200,000 songs being uploaded to Spotify every day. Use whatever weapons you can to get to the top of that playlist, man. I don't mind what it is.
Yeah, completely agree. Because like we had it, you know, the second wave of Grime and GRM Daily, and we were like, oh, well, no one wants to sign to a major label anymore because you can do it yourself. Upload it onto GRM Daily. You're fine. And it all just comes in circles. So yeah, like Priya says, I don't think the labels are worried. It's something that we need to be aware of and potentially adapt to. But I don't think it's like we're saying, there's 1,000 ways to score a goal. Like some of our artists make most of their money off touring. Others make it on brand deals. It's not always just from the music where your revenue comes from. Like maybe you're someone who just tours loads and that's how you make your money. So it's something to be aware of, but it's not something that...
Just to add, though, there's always a human element. I think as musicians, they want the human element. And so, yes, you can do it that way, but also there's a point at which you want a human to be involved in your journey. So,
thank you.
Hiya. Hello. So, good to meet you all. My name is Isaiah. I'm trying to get into A&R. I wanted to ask, as B mentioned, we as a people are looking for authentic music, I think, as time goes on. So this is a question for B, PREYE and BODKIN. Where is UK rap music going in terms of emerging rappers? As a whole, are they making good songs or timeless music? And if not, how do we change that?
How do I think UK rap's going as a whole? I think that it's interesting. I think that there is a lot going on in the space. I think that if you look at 6 months ago, Central C was #1, JAS was #2, right? So I heard a lot of people saying that UK rap was flopping, and I was like, well, I'm not sure that's the case. I think that it is evolving. I think that it's changing. In terms of how we can support it, I think it's to go back to the same thing we've been saying the whole time. We've got to really focus on the music. I think a lot of these guys are being, I guess, there's a lot of noise around the space. There's a lot of stuff on the blogs. There's a lot of stuff about rap beef. And I don't know how much time we're really spending. I've signed I'm working with an amazing new artist called Poser, right? He's signed to Sony. And we're trying to make sure that at least 35% to 40% of his week is in the studio. Because I think artists are getting so busy, you're doing this tour on a Monday, jumping out of this festival on a Tuesday. I think the way that we get UK rap back is to really focus on the songs in the studio.
Good answer. And it's, in a way, music in general, all around the world, I think the standard has kind of dropped. And again, I think people have lost the essence to why they're creating music. And a lot of it is, I don't know, it just seems like just throwaway, quick stuff. But a big problem to me, what I see, and it's contrary to what PREYE was saying, funny enough, is that a lot of these new school artists, they're really good in the studio. They've got such great lyrics and flows and stuff like that. But when you see them live, they're not that good. And to me, that's where the problem lies. And I think it should be the opposite. They should be spending a lot of time practicing the actual physical craft of performing in front of people. But to me, it's when I listen to a tune, if I hear your artist and I like that tune, then when I see that artist live, that's supposed to make the hair stand up on my arms, and I'm supposed to be like, raw. You understand? That's supposed to be like the real thing, but these days it's the opposite. You hear the tune, you like the tune, and when you see the artist, you're like, wow. It's that man didn't practice. Everyone's spitting over their own tunes nowadays. To me, it's just cheap, and I think in order for rap or any other genre to really get to where it needs to, man needs to go back and dig into the craft and practice performing, you understand? Performing to your friends, 5, 3, 4 people, you understand? And building it up, you understand? Get it like that again. That's when the music's going to be real good.
I'm going to quickly add to that and say I interviewed a huge artist who you may know called Lil Wayne. He is just, I've spent some time with him, he's become a good friend. And let me tell you one thing about that man, and this is no word of a lie. He's nearly a billionaire, as you can imagine. And this is no joke, that man is in the studio 99.9% of the time. He is never not working. So you have to be that hungry and that passionate about your craft if you really want to do music and you want to get to that level. We got time for one more question. So sorry.
Hello.
I just want to say, if you want to ask yours after, then please do come up to one of our panelists. Thank you.
All right. So my question is, so it's like you just mentioned about the drive and having a passion, right? So my question is about sort of like a future advice, because I believe in manifestation. So I already think that I'm a superstar. But the problem is,
yes,
nowadays what happening is people get famous, and after the fame comes up with a lot of poison. So my advice, my question to you is, what's your advice to how to be focused with when you have that famous? Because what happens is artists get famous, they get into drugs, they get into stupid stuff like fights and stuff. Great artists are getting killed, and you know those things are like sort of, what is your advice to keep that focus in one place? Because for me, I'm going to come back to my situation. So I am going, because every artist have that wave, sort of, you get in a creative zone and sometimes you're not. So you just find that focus zone. So my question is, what's your advice on that?
How do you maintain your composure, your balance once you've made it? Does anyone want to answer that? Bushkin, I feel like you've got the wisdom to answer that. You're the one for this one. Trust me, bro. You're the man, I'm telling you. You've got it.
No, it's a good question.
When it went to your head, think back when you got signed.
You know the first thing that came to my mind is, do you know why you want to be a superstar? That's the first thing. And then once you answer that, do you want to...
Yeah. So it's like... I'm from India and I'm a bilingual rapper, so it's very rare nowadays. So I'm focusing on English rap so that I can focus on the Western stuff. And I'm doing Hindi rap, which focuses on a lot of Asian in my area. So I'm a bilingual rapper, and that's the whole point. Like I need to focus on my art and sort of make a difference, because it's like a cliche thing. Every artist say that I want to make a difference, but at the end of the day, I need to work on the business part as well, so that I can grow in sense that I can actually help people.
So how do you stand out, do you mean?
You can help people anyway, and you don't need to be a superstar to help people. If you are a superstar, arguably you may be able to influence more people at one time. But the other thing, what I want to say to you is, being a superstar, do you understand what comes with that, the pressures? Because I'm nowhere near it, and there's days that I get up and I think, how does Drake cope with this? How does Beyonce cope with this? Because people want your time. I go out to shows and people are like, yo, Bushkin, and they're touching me and they're all over me and things like that. And it gets annoying. People always want to take photos and stuff like that. And these are stuff that comes with it. Yeah, there's the money and the fame and the glory, but there's other stuff that comes with it. There's a load of headache and pressure. So anyone who wants to be a superstar, they need to understand what that entails and why they want to be a superstar first.
I think that's a good one.
Because you can help people all day long. You don't need to be a superstar. You don't need to do music to help people.
And I also want to say, I know Rock Nation has recently launched a label within the Asian music scene, so that's going to be thriving very, very soon, if not now. So it's something to think about. So it's just about understanding who you are, what it is you want, and knowing yourself as an artist. I think that's very important. And yeah, good luck.
Talking of artists, I heard you got bars and that though. I heard you got bars, bro.
Oh,
we said you're going to share some bars and that. What's going on? Come on, let's go then. Come on.
Man,
hey, make some noise though.
All right.
Got any music for him or anything, no?
Acapella thing, man.
Alright, let's go.
All right. So this is sort of like an unreleased track, and it's in Hindi, but I think everyone will understand. Yeah. एक लड़की थी मिली आज, उसके हाथों पे था मेरा हाथ, मेरे सामने आए न्यूवार, yeah. सच बात है सब साथ में, आगे पीछे देखो बहुत सारे सांप है, दम पीते फेस पे नकाब है, रम पीते नीट के गुलाम है, सब नशेड़ी इधर उधर गिरे सब डेली, छाती देखे बस जो पसली इनकी, दुनिया साली नकली असली चीज है इनकी, लत आगे पीछे घूमे रीते इनकी, ब्लफ इधर उधर गिरे पीते, feel so tough, I really don't know from where you feel so tough, your life is bluff, दुनिया समझ अंदर से खोखली and सब तरह, this is the shit which make this go nuts, yeah.
Woo! Yes! That's what I'm talking about, being put on the spot and delivering that. And where can people follow you?
So my stage name is Epic Sensation. So anywhere and everywhere, Epic Sensation.
Epic Sensation, you are totally manifesting that. Thank you so much. Thank you. It takes guts to do that. I couldn't even sing the Heartless theme tune earlier. And I'll tell you so, if I was in the studio, that would be out. We'd be clashing by now. Listen, thank you to our incredible panelists. Honestly, you guys have been amazing today. Thank you again. You see their names up here. If you want to follow them on the socials, just look them up on Google. I'm sure you'll find them on LinkedIn or anything else. Thank you to all of you guys. Thank you to everyone that stepped up and asked their questions. What have we got up next? I believe we've got a performance coming up next, but I will hand over to Frisky. My name is Raffaella Coleman. You can listen to me on BBC Radio London and follow me on the socials at Queen_Raffaella. Thank you guys so much.
Frisky